Tonight, you will lose consciousness on purpose. You will lie down in a soft, sealed box, pull a blanket over your body, and switch off your brain for 8 hours. You will do this without fear. You will do this without a single glance at the door. But the real answer to why you can do that is far stranger than comfort. Because for most of the time your species existed, night was not a time. It was a place. A place you had to survive. And what your ancestors did between sunset and sunrise, before they controlled fire, is one of the most overlooked survival problems in the whole human story. Start with the darkness itself. You have never really experienced it. Even with your lights off, your world glows. A charging cable, a streetlight leaking through the curtain, the faint gray of a city sky. True darkness, the kind that existed on a moonless night 2 million years ago, is a darkness where your open eyes and your closed eyes look identical. Your hand, held an inch from your face, does not exist. Why does that matter so much? Because you are a daylight animal. Your eyes are built for the sun. Look at the back of your own retina. You have 2 kinds of light-sensing cells. Rods, which handle dim light and see no color. Cones, which need bright light and give you color and sharp detail. You have around 6 million cones and around 120 million rods. 120 million sounds like enough, but your rods are almost entirely absent from the center of your retina, the fovea, the tiny pit you use for everything sharp. So in darkness, the exact spot where you look is the spot you cannot see. Now compare that to a lion. A lion has a mirror behind its retina, a layer called the tapetum lucidum, which bounces light that missed the first time back through the light-sensing cells for a second pass. That is why a cat's eyes flash green in headlights. It is roughly doubling its exposure. A lion also has a pupil that opens far wider than yours relative to its eye. Add it up, and a lion sees somewhere around 6 to 8 times better than you in dim light. The leopard has that mirror. So does the lion, the hyena, and almost everything else that hunted your ancestors after dark. You do not. So picture the arithmetic your ancestor was doing every single evening. Near the equator, where all of this happened, the sun does not ease down, it drops. 20 minutes and the day is gone. Their vision collapses. And the vision of every single thing that wanted to eat them just got sharper. Every night, for millions of years, the world flipped its rules against them. What do you do with that? The first answer is the one nobody expects. You go up. Look at your closest living relatives. Chimpanzees build a fresh nest almost every single night, and almost always in a tree. Not once in a while, nearly every night of their adult lives. A chimp will spend about 5 minutes bending branches inward, weaving a springy platform, and lining it with leaves. Then it walks away in the morning and never uses it again. Do that for a lifetime, and you have built close to 20,000 beds, each one used once. Why throw away a perfectly good bed? Parasites. Ticks and biting flies colonize an old nest fast. A new nest every night is a pest control strategy nobody taught them. But the deeper reason for the tree is simpler. Height is a wall. A leopard can climb, but it cannot climb quietly, and it cannot climb fast while a screaming animal above it is shaking the branch it is standing on. Sleeping 10 meters up converts a silent ambush into a noisy, slow, announced attack. Your ancestors were not sleeping in trees for comfort. They were sleeping in trees because a tree is an alarm system, and it was a better one than anyone assumed. The biologist Fiona Stewart and her colleagues actually slept in chimpanzee nests to measure them. The nests were not crude. They were stable, insulating, and better at damping movement than the bare branches around them. This was not a pile of leaves. It was architecture, built without hands that could tie a knot. So your early ancestors slept up high, like a chimp. And then something changed the whole equation. They came down. Look at the fossil called Lucy, the Australopithecus afarensis skeleton found by Donald Johanson in Ethiopia in 1974. She is about 3.2 million years old. She walked upright, but she is small, roughly a meter tall, and her arms and curved fingers still say tree. She could go up. Now look at Homo erectus, roughly 1.9 million years ago. Taller, longer legs, straighter fingers. A body built for walking and running across open ground, not for hanging in branches. That body is a magnificent daytime machine, and it is a terrible tree climber. So here is the trap. As your ancestors became better at surviving the day, they became worse at surviving the night. The exact upgrades that let them chase prey for hours in the heat, the long legs, the stiff feet, the reduced grip, are the same upgrades that lock them out of their own bedroom. You cannot sleep in the tree anymore. You cannot see in the dark. And the leopards can. So what do you actually do? Be honest about this part. We do not fully know. Between the body that could no longer climb and the first controlled fire lies a gap of nearly 1 million years, and it is one of the quietest stretches in the human story. Nobody sleeps in stone. Beds do not fossilize. Whatever they did down there on the ground, they did it for roughly 40,000 generations without leaving us a photograph. But there is one clue left, and it is a living one. The Hadza of Tanzania are the closest thing we have to a window into that world. They sleep outdoors, in camp, without walls and without electric light. In 2017, David Sampson and Charlie Nunn put sleep monitors on more than 30 adults and recorded over 200 hours of their nights. Out of those 200-plus hours, there were only 18 minutes where every single person in the camp was asleep at the same time. 18 minutes. Out of 200 hours. For more than 99% of the night, somebody in that camp was awake, and nobody was assigned. There was no schedule, no shifts, no one volunteered for guard duty. So how did it happen? Age. Older people in the camp went to bed earlier and woke earlier. Younger people stayed up late and slept in. Their internal clocks were staggered by decades of life, and that stagger, laid on top of each other, accidentally covered the entire night. The researchers called it the poorly sleeping grandparent hypothesis. The idea is startling. The reason your grandmother wakes at 4 a.m. and cannot get back to sleep might not be a malfunction. It might be a job. A job she inherited from an ancestor who was, without ever knowing it, standing watch. Your ancestors did not solve the night with a weapon. They solved it with a population. Now go one layer deeper, into the sleep itself. Sleep is not one thing. You cycle through stages roughly every 90 minutes. Deep, slow-wave sleep, where your body repairs. And REM sleep, where you dream, and where something remarkable happens. In REM, your brainstem actively paralyzes your body. Your motor neurons are switched off. Your arms, your legs, your torso, all disconnected. You are effectively a helpless object. Why would evolution build a state where you cannot move while a leopard walks past? Because REM is not optional. Every mammal does it. It appears to be when your brain consolidates memory and rebalances its chemistry, and nothing gets to skip it. But how much of it you can afford is another question entirely. And the pattern across primates is a trade. Species that sleep somewhere safe, in a nest high in a tree or later in a group around a fire, spend more of the night in REM. Species sleeping exposed stay shallower. Humans sit at an extreme. You sleep about 7 hours where many monkeys sleep 10 or 11, and you spend around 22% of that night in REM. That is far more dreaming than an animal sleeping that little has any business getting. You compressed your sleep and intensified it. You traded quantity for quality. But that trade only works if something is watching the door. You did not evolve a deep, dream-rich, high-efficiency brain and then get safe. You got safe, and that is what allowed the brain. The tree, then the group, then the fire. Each one bought your ancestors the security to go further under. The safety came first. The mind came second. Which brings you back to the fire. When fire finally arrived, and the evidence at Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa suggests controlled burning as far back as 1 million years ago, It did not just cook food. It did something to the night. It gave a daylight animal a portable piece of daylight. It pushed the leopard's silent approach back into the dark, where the group could hear it coming. It made the ground safe enough to lie down on. But notice this. Fire only worked because the group was already there to feed it. Somebody had to be awake to keep it burning. The fire did not replace the watch. The fire rewarded it. Now look around your bedroom. You lock a door. That is a tree made of wood and metal. You sleep near people you trust, in a building with other people in it. That is the camp. You leave one small light on somewhere in the house or a screen glowing on standby. That is the fire. You have not escaped the problem. You have just solved it so completely that you forgot it was ever a problem. And when you wake at 3 a.m. for no reason at all, heart slightly fast, listening to nothing, ready for something that is not there, that is not insomnia. That is a 2-million-year-old shift, still checking the perimeter, in a room where the leopard never comes. Tonight, you will lose consciousness on purpose. And the only reason you can do that without fear is that a very long line of tired, watching people never did.